Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today, now that Gordon has finished his grading, we can continue with the Kind Court and tell the story of the Demon's Child. Okay, now, with the Demon's Child, some of the coincidences that I have taught you over the life of this channel are going to begin to coincide. For example, with today's episode, you might find some similarities, some correlation to the episodes where I was encouraging you to summon a goblin and learn how to go goblin, as we learn the origins of the Demon's Child. And this will continue throughout the series. Okay, so today we're going to pick up just after Tal was destroyed. Now, I do need to correct myself from one small thing in the last episode, and I'm going to leave a link to that here because that's the beginning of this story. If you'd rather start there, I will leave a link to that up in the little thingy up there, and in the description portion of the post if you want to click on that one and then come back to this one. But we're going to pick up just after Tal dies. Now, I did say in that one that the Salusi, who we will eventually name, was destroyed in the last episode and was unable to reincarnate. He, however, did not lose his name or his memory upon the moment of death. So, they're stopped. The Salusi in his tower does crumble. But Yihad recalls his name, while Tal collapses into the nothing and falls unnamed, faceless, into the beyond. And that is where the story picks up for Tal. For the material realm, the children of Tal begin to thrive and have, well, they begin to take over the planet, and we have a world that is for a while very Fae-Rian origin once again, as the combining of the Fae and the human races continues, not just within Tal's kingdom, but they spread out. But at the same time, Tal was destroyed before he could fully complete his mission. And so, even as the children spread, the gap between the material and the energetic realm begins to widen. And even as they spread, they begin to lose more and more of that nature, becoming more the Homo sapiens that eventually become the dominant humanoid species on this planet. Okay, so during that time, it varies a bit from people to people just how much the veil lessening has affected them. And that is where our story picks up for the material realm, is that there is at least one spot in a valley where the people still are born with a bit of horns and hints of wings. They are still born looking like the original kind that took over the kingdom in the first video. Okay, so that is where the tale begins. Now Tal is falling, collapsing, rising at the same time, completely lost in darkness. And so, just as he did when he was Terrassus, he does the only thing he can. He begins to sing. And he sings. And he grasps into the emptiness where there is not even space to grasp into. But then, once again, he hears another song. And in this valley, there is a woman who has found this hot spring that she likes to go to on her own and sing. And how she learns the song, I don't know. That is not a part of the story that I can answer. But she knew the song, and she sang it, and he saw her. And she would come again and again there to sing, and he found himself going closer and closer to this place, to where he could leave little gifts for her a few times. And slowly, they began to interact through the song. She could feel someone singing with her, someone just around the corner. Never quite there. Sometimes he would leave gifts. And eventually, it came to the point that while in the water, she was singing, and he heard her, and he sang to her, and he managed to come to her. But when he touched her, when they began to actually fill one another, what was meant to be an act of love, and perhaps was, culminated into him entering inside of her in a literal fashion. And essentially impregnating her with himself. So they're doing their thing, embraced, and then at the culmination of this, he disappears into her. And this, of course, freaks the woman out. She knew something was going on. She knew this was beyond a normal lover. But I don't think she expected him to disappear like that. But of course now she's pregnant with the remains of Tao, an unnamed presence that was once Tao, that was also once Terrassus, the beast, the patron beast of violence and protector, or the patron beast of love and the protector of the sanctity of violence. And these things were alive in her belly. And she spoke to no one because she did not know how to explain what had happened. But she grew and swelled with child. And because she had told no one, she hid this fact and went off into the woods when the baby was born. And when the baby came out, he was deformed. He was massive in the shoulders and hairless, with bright yellow snake-like eyes. And already his mouth had begun to form, but it was her child and she loved him. Perhaps a face only a mother could love. If you would say, she had given birth to a demon's child. She brushed her hands against his face. As her fingers brushed his lips, the rooting instinct caused him to turn, and immediately tore deep into her fingers and bit two of them off. At this point, she throws the child into the woods and runs screaming. But fate is not so kind to such an unlikely child to allow him to simply pass on. He must continue. Now, I don't know her story. I have heard some rumors of what happens to her, but I do not know that story. The child, however, survives and lays in the bushes in a thick rose bush, watching creatures slither and crawl. When they climbed over top of his mouth, he swallowed them. And this is how he survived, until watching them he learned to move and crawl. And he still did not remember who he was, how he was, what he was. But he knew to move from watching the bugs, from watching the insects. And he began to crawl and move. And then, as this happened, there was a she-wolf who had lost one of her cubs. And when she found this strange, hairless creature crawling about on four legs, she decided to take him in as her own, though she was not fool enough to suckle him. And this, he grows there. He becomes, and he gets bigger, and he knows that he doesn't look like the others. But he doesn't know that they can't feel the way he feels, the way he can feel their emotions. And as he grows, some of the other adult wolves begin to regard him with suspicion. His children, his brothers and sisters would play and rough with him, but the older males began to prick at him with fear, with anger, perhaps. And his child grew until he was so big that he could not fit into the den. He could no longer enter. And it was when he was trying to do this that one of the males attacked him with fear. And perhaps he didn't bite him. It was unclear. It was unclear. The pain did not come from the teeth, though they were there gnawing into him. The pain came from the fear. And he screamed, and he ran, and he went as far as he could. And then he found himself by a pool. He began to drink from the water, but then he looked into the water, and he saw in the water yellow snake-slit eyes, teeth jagged, bouncing, red blood and drool dripping down the sides, hairless skin, and taloned fingers that did not look like the paws of a wolf. And he pounced, trying to kill this thing, and found himself in the water, splashing, crashing, fighting for breath as he crawled upon the surface. This is all the farther I'm going to go with this tale tonight. But as I said, there is that bit. Now, this being, as he progresses during these stories, we will eventually learn his name. And I have talked quite a bit about creating a mentor for the kind court. And that will be this being. So, we will be talking quite a bit about them and the things they learn as they grow. And those are a lot of the things that I have been teaching on this channel. So we will be learning them from a little bit different perspective with a bit of a twist to them. Anyways, I have created a second group on Facebook called the Kind Court and OtherKin community, which is what this is leading towards. And anyone who watches this channel is welcome to join the group. There will be a question in the group, where did you hear about it? And, well, if you put it on the video, please put in there, I watched it on Sorcerer Tal's YouTube. And we'll let you right in. Anyways, I'm not expecting everyone to that joins the group to be OtherKin or believe in these stories that I tell. There will be some learning and understanding that is central to the group, and you kind of be wasting your time being there if you don't at least choose to try and understand what is going on. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. There will be more on this story, so if you enjoyed this story, subscribe so you can get the next bit in the thing, and I will start a playlist for these so that it's easier to follow. Anyways, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.